Well, Taoiseach, you express sympathy to the Clerys workers, and I'm no doubt that's sincere enough. But the government's also partly to blame for their dilemma. We've seen it here before. Waterford Crystal, Talk, Lizenza, Lagan Brick, Beta Cortex, Game and others were frustrated in assessing basic rights and entitlements. And 3 years ago, Taoiseach, you and your partners in government, the Labour Party, rejected Sinn Féin's bill, the Protection of Employees Amendment Bill 2012, which sought to legislate for these scenarios. Had you supported that bill, what that company did would have been unlawful. What we sought to do in the bill was to enhance the period of notice for workers made redundant, to expedite the hearings and processes of claims to entitlements. And one of the workers today at the rally asked me, why would the government do this? Why wouldn't the government support the workers? Why especially would a Labour Party do this? Now, Taoiseach, will you now belatedly legislate to protect workers like those at Clerys? Will you, for example, extend the period of notice legally required in collective redundancies and impose penalties for non-compliance? Will you provide a time limit within which applications for redress for employees like those in Clerys will be heard? Will you go beyond the expressions of sympathy and actually bring in legislation, which we will support you, unlike your refusal to support us, bring in legislation to defend the rights of workers where employers fail to pay them money due to them?
I thank you, Deputy Adams. As I said to you, a representative of the liquidator has verbally advised the Department of Social Protection that all of the workers involved, all of the staff, have been made redundant, and that P45s will issue this week. And that's why the Department of Social Protection have notified all of the local offices that claims will be processed very speedily and efficiently. I think, Deputy Adams, when you look at company law, this is obviously a very complex issue, and changes should not be made lightly. I think, however, that Minister Nash will prepare a report for government on all of the issues surrounding this. And perhaps it might be appropriate for the company law review group to look at what happened here and the way that this evolved. And that group is headed up by a very capable person indeed. I think obviously the meetings that are going to take place over the next short period will bring to light all of the issues that have evolved before this insensitive, swift action was taken, following indeed the court decision to appoint a liquidator. So I think the question of company law is one that, in this particular context of Clerys, could be looked at by the company law review group headed by Mr. Courtney.
Deputy Adams.
Well, Taoiseach, let me disagree with you profoundly. This is not a very complex issue. This is very straightforward. It's got to do with workers' rights. It's got to do with industrial relationships. You mentioned John Finn. I met John Finn today, 43 years working for Clerys, and he was given half an hour to clear his personal effects out of the place that he served loyally for all of those 43 years. You mentioned Larkin. The rally today in support of the workers, which I and Mary Lou and others attended, was just opposite where Larkin just opposite where Larkin's statue sits, and you'll know that he went up and addressed those in 1913 from the balcony of Clerys when they were locked out in this city. So this isn't very complex. Those workers were locked out. The manner in which they are treated is appalling. It's unacceptable. They have families, they have mortgages, they have loans, they have bills to pay like everyone else. Now, riddle me this, Taoiseach. The Boston-based Gordon brothers who sold Clerys to the Natrium Consortium, they have reputedly pocketed €19 million after putting less than €2 million into the store. So what's complex about that, Taoiseach? What's difficult to understand about that? They've refused even to acknowledge the existence of the Clerys workers or anyone else connected to the company. So, Taoiseach, if you agree that these workers have rights, that they have entitlements, then obviously they must be protected. They're not protected under the law, and you, I think, have to bring in legislation to bring them the money which is due to them, not money that isn't theirs. It's their money. And also, Taoiseach, would you call here today, or better still, would you pick up the phone and talk to Natrium and ask them to show some basic decency and meet the workers' representatives? Because these workers, like the list of others that I have read out to you, have been let down, not just by the company bosses, but also by the government in this Dáil.
Thank you.
I think you deliberately misunderstand me, Deputy Adams. The company law is a very complex piece of legislation. You're aware of the many hundreds of amendments that have been put into the company law bills over the years here. The company law is a complex business. The issue here is very much more straightforward. This company was insolvent. An application was before the High Court for the appointment of a liquidator, and that was approved. The liquidator, or personnel on behalf of the liquidator, have said all of the workers are now redundant and that P45s will issue this week. They are protected under the redundancy legislation, but the company here is completely insolvent. There's a different issue arising from the concession holders in Clerys, in respect of whom Clerys would have managed the business, taken a fee for that, and that money then lodged elsewhere. And obviously claims are in for the return of that money for the past month and for the release of stock in respect of the concession holders. So, insofar as the state is concerned here, the protection for the workers under the redundancy payment scheme will click in, and tomorrow Liberty Hall is being made available for that purpose, to advise them of their rights, of the opportunities, and of the fact that the department will expedite the payments that are to be made here. The point I was making, Deputy Adams, is that while company law is a very complex piece of legislation, the question that was raised by Deputy Martin is one that could be looked at by the Company Law Review Group when the report on all of these issues comes back from the Minister for Business, Deputy Minister Nash.
Thank you. Deputy McWall.